Hey there. Wow. Hey. Welcome to another campaign diary for our Dungeons and Dragons game, the Troll Skull Club. This is going to be what I believe to be the last of our one-on-one sessions of our downtime for the game, because one of our players was on vacation. They're coming back, and so it seems like we might be able to get the whole group back together, which will be very interesting. So this game was a one-on-one session about our high elf cleric, Bryn. And so Bryn begins the day as everyone else did, waking up the following day of Founders Day. He learns that Quick, the tiefling sorcerer in their party, has left for about a month, kind of uncharacteristically and without really any sort of explanation. Just wrote a short note explaining that everything's okay, they're fine, but that they just had something that they had to do. So Bryn had talked previously with his uncle Petrin, who runs a leather shop in the trade ward of Waterdeep, about going on a trip with him. Petrin very frequently takes trips on his boat out to just visit the different ports in different cities and collect wares and just kind of travel around a little bit. So Bryn heads over to Petrin and decides that he's going to go with Petrin on one of his little jaunts, and they set sail. They sail to the port Nyanzaru in Chult, eat some Chultian fruits, and get to see some of the dinosaur races and reptilian creatures in Chult. They stop by the city of Marquette and visit the Bay of Gifts, which is this beautiful turquoise colored water with like diamond encrusted, this perfect sand. It's a resort. They stay at this fancy, wonderful resort. They meet an old friend of Petrin's, Zool, who runs the place. And they stay there for a little bit, stay there for a night actually. And Bryn has this dream of Bryn in the dream is walking on water, and underneath the surface of the water are hands outstretched, trying to reach the surface, but they can't break past the water. And there's darkness from their forearms down, so it's just a sea of hands that are clawing up, scratching up, trying to reach the surface, but unable to. And that kind of gives them a little bit of pause. After that, they head to a kind of a pocket. So in there are these things called fey crossings, which are kind of little breaks in between our material plane and the Feywild, that are just spread throughout the world. And Petra knows of one of these fey crossings in the middle of the ocean, and he takes Bryn there. They go in, and it's it's funny because they go through this fey crossing and they land in this lake, but they're surrounded by forest, and there's this little island in the center, and they go there and they just kind of take it all in. The wind is moving through the trees and making this beautiful music, these like flutes and chimes. The water, they look into the water and it has this like repeating effect, where your body's solitary, but as you're looking through, he sees himself looking through the water, and sees himself looking through the water, and sees himself looking through the water. He also sees some different, like a flying fish and a giant whale that comes out of this lake, which looks like it should be small, but for some reason the depth is just something that you can't comprehend how deep that water is. And after that, Petrin and Bryn talk, and Petrin explains to Bryn that this is when he was at a low, dark point in his life, and he thought he was going to die, and he wanted to die. He came across this place and was able to. He realized that there was a lot more in the world that he wanted to see, and he created a list of places, of things he wanted to see before he died. And the list just kept on growing and growing. And so it was this really sweet moment, I think, at least. And so after that, they decided to head back to Waterdeep. And they headed back to Waterdeep. And Bryn has been dealing with this idea of trying to, trying to make change in the world. One of the reasons that Bryn left his home, the temple of Selune, and this elven culture, is because they're very closed off. They've only cared about their own problems, and Bryn was very much about helping others and helping the world. And he's been realizing and been having this feeling that he wants to be able to take more in his own hands. And so, talking to Laurel Silverhand, the Open Lord of Waterdeep, he finds mention of this monk who lives in Mount Waterdeep named Hlan, who's a cleric monk, which actually, interestingly enough, that so Bryn climbs up this mountain and meets this man who questions him about his his reasoning and why he wants to learn these skills and why he wants to be able to do these things. And Bryn just basically explains that he wants to be able to see and help the potential in others, and also to enact change in the world. And Halan is very receptive to that. So Halan beats the shit out of him, of course, because that's the only way to learn how to be a monk, is to get your ass kicked, really. And that's about. And Bryn heads back down the mountain, learning some new tricks and starting his journey to learning a little bit more about the ways of the open hand. And that's where we ended Bryn's session. I really love this session. I knew, so me and Jed, plays Bryn, had talked previously about what he wanted to accomplish, and there was the idea thrown around about Bryn returning home. So that was the main, what I had planned. It was like, okay, this is what will happen if Bryn returns home. And then it kind of didn't really go, though. I had some ideas of areas that I did want to visit if the party ever wanted to go on a trip or go out to sea. I had areas like Port Nyanzaru and Chult from, wow, I forgot the name of the adventure, the module. But I wanted to visit Chult. I wanted to drop Marquette, which is a location from Critical Role's Campaign 1, into my set in my world, because, well, you can do that. It's Dungeons and Dragons. It doesn't matter. And it's a little bit different. It's like my version of Marquette, which is still very much in line with what has been set up for Marquette. You know, the Bay of Gifts, which is, I think, a very fun destination, and somewhere that I think the PCs have a good time visiting. But the great thing about this session was the beginning was me and Jed just got to talk and really deep dive into Bryn's motivations and how Bryn feels about the events that have led up, about the dragon heist, about the deals with devils that his party has made. Because Bryn is, I'd say he's the most morally upright. He has the most moral compass out of the party. He's a life cleric, and so he's also very introspective, and sometimes I think he can be hard to read. And so it was great to just sit down and have that beginning of the session, just have a conversation about, like, all right, what does Bryn feel about this? How's Bryn taking all of this in? And so it's very interesting, because I feel like I have a better understanding of the character as a dungeon master, so that I can better plan and prepare for things, which still a lot of our thoughts, my thoughts, and his ideas and stuff were in line, so that was good. And then I really enjoy the relationship between Petrin and Bryn. Petrin is his uncle, and he's that type of uncle that's like the first one to leave town. You know, like everyone, like that uncle who left the small town that everyone's lived in, and now you're gone, and you're kind of go to them for advice. And so it's fun just shaping Petrin's backstory of this adventure, this guy who, not an adventurer, he has commoner stats, but he's just someone who's traveled a lot, and travel is something that I'm very passionate about and I love. And so just taking that part of me and putting him in Petrin is just very, very exciting and kind of fleshing out his backstory a little bit. He used to be on a pirate ship with Captain Tusktooth. He was a cabin boy with Zool, who runs the resort at the Bay of Gifts, which is, it's just been fun fleshing out this world and connecting people, and it's been very exciting. I'm also very interested to see how the 2 levels of monk that Bryn has received are going to go. I have a cleric monk, a cleric sorcerer, a rogue, and a Oath of Vengeance paladin in my party. So it's a very interesting mix, interesting group. But my favorite thing about multi-classing is using multi-classing as a story point and not just a thing. Because ideally, like classes in D&D, it's you learned, you trained to do this. So it's just like, oh, I'm level 5 now, and hey, I can shoot arrows now. It's like, well, for me at least, I'm just one of those people who's like, well, how did your character learn to shoot arrows? Like, where did they go? Was there a trainer? And so it was great to be able to be like, all right, this is what you want to do. Cool. I can create a narrative way and thing for the monk thing to happen. And also, Bryn has already been having these questions and having these dealings, and so it's not a far stretch for that character to do that. It's just about me showing the avenue for that. So that's really great. I'm very interested to see as everyone comes together, because Bryn probably had the most productive one-on-one game where I feel like that character maybe has actually learned some things about himself, and maybe is coming back with a newfound confidence, while Quick and Harvey, more so, they had things revealed to them instead of them coming to grips or coming to terms or learning things. Things were more so revealed to them. So it'll be interesting when the party all comes back together about how the events that have transpired have changed them. So this is a really fun game. It was very exciting. A lot of improv on my end, just because I wasn't fully sure of what was going to happen. I was like, are we going straight to this elven city? And we actually didn't go back home to the elven society, which I'm very interested in, and curious to see when we do, if we ever do go and visit Bryn's family, and how his actions and the events and things that he's been a part of, how the word is spread over there and how they feel about it. So this is a great game. I'm really, really excited to get the party back together so that so everyone can learn what everyone else has been doing, and they can all kind of get involved in the next plot, which I'm very excited about. So that has been this campaign diary. Very exciting. I felt very good about this game, and I felt like this time doing the one-on-one games and just the time between has really rejuvenated me as a DM, just so that I feel I'm not stressing myself out, and I've been able to get reinvigorated and excited again. So yeah, this is really fun, really good game. I'm very excited to see where this goes. I'm very happy with how all the roleplay elements happened. If anything, I wish I had more prepared for the different areas that we went, so that we could spend more time. Like, we only spent a little bit of time in Courtney and Zara. We spent some more time in Marquette, just because I had a better idea of what Marquette was than of what Courtney and Zara was. But also, it was an introduction, and if we ever do go back to visit those, I can be more prepared and have some more stuff ready. So yeah, I'm very excited for the Troll School Club to get back together so that we can get some forward momentum and get into our next big story arc. So anyway, I will talk to you later, and probably shave and get my life in order.